Welcome to the NCWLIFE Magazine. I'm Kaitlin Hetterscheidt. On this week's episode, we're honoring local nurses during National Nurses Week. Declared in 1993, May 6th through May 12th is a week to celebrate the more than 4 million registered nurses in the profession in the United States and recognize their vast contributions to healthcare nationwide. National Nurses Week ends on May 12th, which is Florence Nightingale's birthday. If you haven't heard the name before, Florence Nightingale is known as the pioneer of modern nursing after she worked to help wounded and sick soldiers in the 1850s during the Crimean War. Have you heard the name Lady with the Lamp? That's Florence. She earned this name because she would visit soldiers at night with a small lantern in her hand. Nightingale established the first scientifically based nursing school in 1860, the Nightingale School of Nursing at St. Thomas Hospital in London. In honor of Florence and all nurses this week, I took time to sit down with 3 nurses in the Wenatchee Valley, each in different stages of their career. From learning the basics to managing the daily stress in the hospital to caring for inmates in the Chelan County Jail, North Central Washington is home to many different nursing specialties. To start this episode off, we'll catch up with Karina Alvarez, a young nursing student from East Wenatchee who is set to graduate from Wenatchee Valley College this June. Seeing a need to help fill the gap in minority nurses, Karina says her family gave her the push she needed to get on the college track.
I think specifically what happened for me to pursue college in general was my parents. They always inspired me. So my parents immigrated from Mexico to the United States, and they always were telling me about their experiences in Mexico and some of the sacrifices they had to make. Like, they were not in school, they had to drop out of school, and they were working as children, these hard labor jobs. So they came to the United States and raised my siblings and I. And here they were telling us, step outside of your comfort zone, pursue your dream and your career. So they really inspired me to go to college in the first place. I got my nursing assistant certification through a high school program, and after I got my certification, I worked at a long-term care nursing facility, and at that facility, I worked one-on-one with a nurse, and I was able to see the care that nurses provide there versus providers, and I really liked the intimate personal connection that nurses made with these patients, and that sparked my interest in that, allowed me to further explore nursing. So nursing school in general is very difficult. It's a difficult process. It's a difficult once you're in nursing school. And something that keeps driving me to pursue that is I remind myself what my long-term goals are, and I remind myself that I'm not only doing this for myself, but for my family. I want to be that role model for my siblings. I have 3 older siblings and 1 younger sibling, and I want to be that role model to them where we can pursue higher education and we have this opportunity. So to me, that's what keeps motivating me to keep going and to conquer these battles, because long term I do want to be a nurse and make a difference in my community and for my family as well.
Karina says she hopes to get to work right here in the Wenatchee Valley, but long term, she hopes to explore the world of travel nursing, which could take her anywhere.
When I graduate nursing school, I see myself working here in Wenatchee, where I grew up in the more rural setting, and I see myself working with a team where I'm not afraid to ask questions and really building my experience. And as I mentioned to you, I started my educational pathway at the University of Washington, and at the UW I was able to study abroad, and that intrigued me as well. And with nursing, I discovered that there's an opportunity to become a travel nurse. A travel nurse, you could go from different states where they need nurses the most, or you can even go to different countries, and that's something to me that intrigues me, is going to a country where they need extra assistance. So that's sort of the travel nursing piece that I'm interested in. Something that I found surprising with nursing is how vulnerable and emotional it can be. For example, I recently had an experience during my clinical shift where I was working with a family in pediatrics, and the 2-year-old patient actually ended up passing away. And that experience was very difficult for me, and luckily I had the resources available for me, like speaking to my clinical instructor and to a counselor about the situation, but it was very difficult, and I guess I didn't make the connection that nurses are there for 12 hours with these patients and they see it all. They see the whole picture, and that is difficult. But what keeps me going with nursing is that I want to be there for them during these difficult moments, and I want to help them through these moments and educating them on the resources available, and just being able to hold their hand during these times can really make a difference. A common misconception that I feel that people may think is that nurses are just following doctors' orders, but in reality, nurses spend 12 hours at the patient's bedside and building this intimate personal connection, working with patients, their families, and they are working with patients during these vulnerable moments. So I feel like it's important for the community to understand that we as nurses, we are there for the patient, we're patient advocates, and we are there for the patient during these tough times, and we want to be that support person for these people.
With her eye on the finish line at school, I asked Karina what advice she has for anyone considering starting a career in nursing.
My advice to them would be to get out there, get your feet wet, volunteer as much as you can, job shadow. That's something that I had the opportunity to do as well. And my little sister actually is doing the same program in high school that I did, where you learn about different health careers, as well as like dentistry, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and by the end of it, you have the opportunity to get your nursing assistant license. So my advice would be to find opportunities like that and get involved in the community, job shadow a nurse, job shadow a physician, and really figure out if this is something you see yourself doing.
Up next on the NCWLIFE Magazine, we'll catch up with Danielle Morrison, a nurse on the Progressive Care Unit at Central Washington Hospital. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the NCWLIFE Magazine. We're continuing our celebration of National Nurses Week with an RN from Kashmir who works with Confluence Health at Central Washington Hospital.
My name is Danielle Morrison. I'm a nurse on the Progressive Care Unit, and I've been a nurse for just about a year and a half now. My love for nursing really began when I got to shadow my mom at her job. She used to work at a long-term care facility so that my brother and I would be able to spend more time with her. So some days I would get to go to her work and shadow and see what she really did with the patients. And there is nothing, not to sound selfish, but there is nothing more fulfilling than being able to sit and talk with someone and see their face light up just because they feel, that someone cares about them. And so I would sit and help feed the patients and walk with them down the hallway and talk with them. And my mom said the moment she knew that I was going to be a nurse was one day one of the elderly patients was walking down the hallway and her shoes were untied. And I stopped her and I tied her shoes so that she, wouldn't fall. The only other thing I ever wanted to be was an astronaut, and I didn't really see that happening. So at my preschool graduation, they had us declare at 3 years old what we wanted to do for the rest of our lives, and I chose nursing and just stuck with it. I work on the Progressive Care Unit, and so we specialize in cardiac as well as neuro, so that's the brain and the heart. And so anybody that comes into our hospital and has open heart surgery, has a heart attack of any sorts, they come to the Progressive Care Unit. And then anyone that has a stroke, and there's a couple different types of strokes, but there's a brain bleed and then an embolic stroke. So if you have any sort of stroke, you also come to my unit. A lot goes into working on the Progressive Care Unit, but we usually get there at 7 a.m. We have morning huddle, so that's where our managers, the charge nurse, and the rest of the floor staff meet in a room for 5-7 minutes and discuss kind of like what the floor is looking like, if we're going to be having discharges, admits, how many strokes we have, just to kind of give us an outline of what our day is going to entail. The longer that you've been in nursing, the more comfortable you become with dealing with the unknown, because your assessment skills become better, and so you're able to kind of like sense. It's called like you trust your gut, and that's really a little bit of nursing. But you can be sitting there charting one moment, and then you can hear a bed alarm go off, and then you'll have to run down the hallway to make sure that that patient is safe. Or you can hear a different alarm, which tells you that a patient's heart has stopped and gone into asystole. So then, everybody runs in there to make sure that that patient's okay. And so just being able to discern between each of the different monitors and sounds that are going on in the unit is a really important part of nursing. My phone has like 4 or 5 different sounds, and I have to know what each one means. Nobody likes to be in the hospital, and so really we are interacting with people that are having, probably the worst thing that's ever happened to them before. And so it's hard to keep that smile on your face, but you have to do that because a positive environment really, makes positive outcomes happen. So I think that just about every experience that I've had with a patient has changed me for the better. Something that I really have a passion for is dealing with patients that are on comfort care, which means they're coming to the end of their time here with us. And it's really difficult, but you can make such a difference in someone's life towards the end of it. At that point, you're not just the nurse for the patient, you are taking care of the family. The family then becomes your patient, and so it really changes you as a person to realize that we are not immortal, and it's really hard to deal with that, but knowing that you can make someone comfortable and sit and hold their hand while they take their last breath with us on this earth is something that you can't get in any other profession. It's just sometimes there are people that you were destined to have your paths cross, and those moments of interacting with those patients are what keeps you coming back for more. Some days it's really tough, but some days you get to see that patient, they come in, they're super sick, and you're trying to fix them, and you just keep hitting this wall. And then one day you have that, you break away, you break through, and then, by the end of my shifts, they are, 99% better, and they're getting to go home, back to how they were living before they came in. And just getting to see someone go through that process of healing definitely keeps me coming back for more. So as I mentioned, my mom's a nurse, and every time a patient tells me thank you, I call my mom, and I'm like, Mom, oh my gosh, this is why I do it. It really reminds you why you are in the profession. And I understand that people are under a lot of stress, and so that's the last thing that you normally think of. But man, when you have a patient, come and find you in the community and say, you were there and held my hand when my father passed, and I've been praying to run into you, that really hits home. There are days when you do question why you went into the field that you went into, and I think that's for everybody. When you have a rough day, you kind of, think to yourself, what did I get myself into? But it's really nice when a patient says thank you, and it really does remind you why you went into the field that you went into.
Up next on this episode, we head into the Chelan County Regional Jail for our final interview celebrating National Nurses Week with a nurse who was recently named as one of the NCW Nurse of the Year honorees. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the NCWLIFE Magazine. To close out this episode spotlighting local nurses, we're heading behind the doors of the Chelan County Jail to meet the healthcare manager who was recently honored with the title NCW Nurse of the Year.
My name is Billy Tollickson, and I'm an RN, and I'm also the healthcare manager at the Chelan County Jail. I'm from Waterville, so I grew up there, and but I've always been, in the Wenatchee Valley. I started out actually as a CNA, and when I was in high school, and I did that for a couple years, and it was very hard work, and I decided that for all that hard work I was going to go to school and maybe get paid to do it, and so I went to nursing school straight out of high school, and I really was interested in the psychology portion of nursing. And so when I graduated, I saw this nursing position in corrections, and I had heard a little bit about it. And I thought this is a good opening, for me, and would give me some mental health experience. And so I took the job. It was just kind of a part-time position, and I just kind of fell into correctional nursing, and I realized that I liked it. I was good at it. And so later on, when a job did come up in mental health, I didn't take it because I felt like, I was getting enough of that here, and this environment was what I was good at. So I've been here ever since. That was almost 18 years ago. No, it's surprising how many people don't know that we're here. At this time, I have a nurse practitioner that comes in twice a week, and we do a clinic, what we call a sick call, but it's a clinic, and she sees anywhere from 15 to 20 inmates at clinic, and we just address needs that they may have or that they've requested to be seen for, or that the nurses have referred them for. I have 3 full-time nurses, so we're here 7 days a week. We're usually here from 7 in the morning till around 8 to 9 at night. We'd like to have that extended, and hopefully we will be able to in the future. And then we also have, I have a mental health professional that's here full-time, which is wonderful. Not many jails have that. So we're able to actually see people for crisis situations, for ongoing type counseling situations. And so we have a pretty good medical staff that we work with. And we keep very busy. A lot of people walk through the doors and they're scared immediately. I mean, that door slams behind them and it's loud, and I never had that nervousness. My biggest nervousness was just not knowing how to find anything. It was like a maze in here. But other than that, I never felt scared or intimidated while I was here, so that was probably a good sign. We have anywhere from 250 to 300 inmates at a time. So I see everything that you could imagine. This particular population does not take very good care of themselves. They have limited resources. Many of them are homeless, a lot of drug abuse. So when they come into the jail, you're seeing anything from an altercation that may have happened prior to coming in, to heart disease that has not been taken care of in months, to seizure disorders that have not been taken care of. So you name it, pretty much, I've probably seen it, and then things you probably couldn't imagine, unfortunately, I've seen as well. So a lot of mental health, a lot of drug abuse, and then a lot of very ill people that just don't have the resources to take care of themselves on the outside. So when they come to jail, we are their medical provider. It's our chance to try to help them as best we can while they're here, and give them a very good standard of care. So every day is different. I do like it. It's a challenge, and I actually unfortunately don't get a lot of thanks in this profession in correctional nursing. You don't have many inmates that will come to you and be like, hey, I really appreciate what you did for me while I was in there. But knowing that I was able to maybe get them back on track, and they maybe are released at a healthier state, or they've been introduced to some sort of drug treatment, or put on a medication to help them manage that, it makes me, yeah, absolutely, it's a good feeling, yeah, and I do enjoy that part of the job.
I asked Billy how she prepared for working in such a unique and dynamic environment as correctional nursing.
It was a day-to-day learning experience. I definitely had a very good mentor that I worked with. The PA that was here when I came into the jail really taught me a lot. And I'm still learning every day. I mean, there's always something new, and I learn more about myself and who I am as a nurse, because there are so many different challenges in this profession. So, I'm getting better at it with every experience that I have. I do a better job, I think, the next time. I've learned to have patience and to not take things personally. You can work really hard with an individual, and 2 days later they may be coming right back through the door, worse off than they were when they left. And you have to find it within yourself to not get angry about that, and realize that this is above us and what we're doing here, and that, you know, they come back in and we have to start over and, you know, give them that opportunity again and do the best we can while they're with us. So. Upon booking, the first thing we have them do is fill out an inmate or a medical screening form. So we ask a number of questions in regards to, you know, how do they look when they walk in the door, and then, you know, medical history, medications, what do they need from us, what do we need to know about them. So we do ask a number of questions from them, and so those forms are screened every hour by the nurses. So that's our first kind of initial conversation that we'll have with an inmate, is based on that. Then also we have what we call a kite system, and the kite is a medical request that they can fill out as many and as often as they want or need to. Those kites are sent into our office, and I probably see at least 20 to 30 a day kites, where I will review what they're asking for, what they need. If the public knows that we're even in here, I think generally what I'll hear is, so do you guys just do med pass? And so I think that there is a misconception that the nurses here just hand out medications, which is an important part of our job. We do 3 med passes a day, but it's a very, very small portion of what we do here. So yeah, I think that is the biggest misconception. And then just the not knowing that medical is needed in corrections, and it's not just here in Chelan County. Almost every county facility that you will see near and far have some sort of medical in that jail. I know that most of them are understaffed, but I think as jails are changing and new ones are being made, they're seeing the importance of a medical department because of the amount of inmates that are coming in, and unfortunately the increased drug use. People are living longer. It's not abnormal for me to see an 80-year-old man or woman walk through the door. Quite often, actually. So, you know, with age comes more issues as well medically that need to be handled. So, yeah, I think that people don't really have a good understanding of you know, the need, I guess, for medical inside this type of facility.
Established as a healthcare manager 6 years ago, Billy says her plan is to retire with Chelan County. 2 weeks ago, she found out she was recognized as an NCW Nurse of the Year honoree.
Yeah, exciting. Totally not anything I've ever used to or would have thought would have happened, but it's wonderful. I mean, it's great to be, first of all, it's just great for my coworkers to notice, I guess, and to respect what I do. That's awesome. To feel like you've done a good job is great. And then to be awarded and recognized by your peers out in the community, even better, because I don't think that a lot of people do know that I'm here. And so it's kind of nice to say, hey, you know, yeah, we're doing a good job here, you know, and I can't just take all the credit. I have an amazing staff, you know, they make my job easy. I've got really good nurses that have been very loyal to this facility as well. So I'm very blessed, honestly. Nursing it's hard. And these men and women work tirelessly to take care of other people. And I don't know that we necessarily always get the recognition that we need, but I don't know that we necessarily need it either. I think that one of the reasons we take on this position is because it's you know, we do a good job, we know what we're doing and why we're doing it, and we feel good about that. So, but I do want people to know that, hey, whether you're a school nurse, a correctional nurse, an ER nurse, out in the community, you know, it's important. Nurses are important, and every role in nursing is huge and important. We all work really hard, I think, and I don't know that a lot of us get that credit, but I think we do it because we love it. You know, that's why we're here. So yeah, I'm just thankful for all the nurses, no matter what field they're in, do an amazing job. So.
That's going to do it for this episode of the NCWLIFE Magazine. If you have any questions on this episode or want to submit your own idea for the program, contact me, Kaitlin Hetterscheidt, at kaitlin@ncwlife.com.